fact that you'll thankfully in this room have the testimonies in their life that work for what for us. And as already been mentioned here today, as experience, I pray that today with your need, there's something we want to today. I pray that you'd have helped me as I present a message this morning. Help me to do so will help us in the importance of the simple. I pray that. Amen. Been looking at Paul there to make it to the holy day for the Jews who were with him the day of Pentecost. We know that Paul made his way to got there for the scene of Pentecost, but things quickly went wrong when Jews from Asia recognized Paul in the temple and began accusations against him as defiling by bringing in non-Jews into sacred for the Jews. So as they drug him out against him, and they were in the process of really beating him to death, the chief captains in and say, it was after that going to be standing full of men. They told Caesar his manner of living, counsel that he did. The resurrection was not. We all recognize this dissension between the people in the council, that his advantage, but whenever his advantage in Paul, that would have pulled him in two had it not for the chief captain stepping in, wanted to saving Paul. That was last week. They placed on Paul. They were going to refuse to drink anything until Paul was in a plot. And so this man stepped in, and for the few days saved us. This man was used time and time again in the life of Paul, not because he be a hero, as he was supposed to show us that every one of us has the ability to be a blessing in the people because we set out to make this a difference in their lives. You and I will just do what we know is. If we will invest in the lives of people, then we can be a tremendous blessing. But we have to stop thinking about our own personal wants, and have to be left outside of that. Realize I can be a help to them, and I can be a blessing to them. And then this week, obviously, and we're going to look today, and I trust you'll just follow along as quickly. But today I'm talking about something every one of us will do, and that in every one of our lives there are things that are important and that are not. When I talked about this to you, that I would assume would not remember this or would not have ever heard it, but I was in my garage. So that stuff is important to me. It's just stuff. Now, it doesn't mean that it's completely worthless. If it was completely worthless, I would get rid of the stuff in life. As a result of certain things, not important, not greatly important. Most of it were honest. Since it's not important to us, we don't protect like we do the things that are important to us. Makes sense? If you step inside my house unasked and you were unto me, if you to the threat, see, there are some in my house known as my pension that if they're I would cook them. And so because they are in me, I protect them. If I saw you in my house or in my garage, it seems like or somewhat making me feel uncomfortable and I might say something like, hey, what are you doing? But if you think I'm going to risk my more, crazy. Now, my heater and my blood have everything. Nathan would be happy to cook it. Come back if you're going to take it. Now listen, what is not important? We just don't protect like we need. What does it have to do with the morning? Well, you understand how a little over 4 men took this vow to take the life. They wouldn't eat or drink. Paul was dead. The chief captain did this and decided to a territory trial there. So it's in verse number 1. Paul has been trained for a name of. You need to understand. He led by historians, and afterward, not the smartest. He was said to have ruled with any kind of a. All right, so the idea was, and I'm just telling you that's what it is, and has a lot of it has power, not real quick. That is said of Felix, we have to remember, Felix is not who is on trial. So it may not be the smart miracles, but that is going to stand before to this day and time. For the Jews them to do much, or else, they still answer to the authority. And so while the Jews were to govern themselves, make certain laws and enforce them upon the Jews, ultimately, they answered to the authority of Rome, and they had no jurisdiction whatsoever, jurisdiction in the law. Say that because here's what happens in verse 1. And after these, the high priest, ended with the elders and with the orator, or a lawyer, Paulus, formed the governor against Paul, who is Ananias, priest, verse number 1 tells us. His base would have been inverting by the Jews there in Jerusalem. Are you following this? This would have been for them the top given up to the Jewish people. Now, Something to consider about Ananias is this. Christians will accept it, and it is thought to have been one of the most corrupt leaders of the Jews during this time. So it's as though Ananias was a man of, not as though Ananias was, but he was honest, that there was nothing real positive that you could say of him or character or integrity. It says that he is from Jerusalem, where Felix is at, the elders, and with a certain or a lawyer, Tertullus. This man is going to be the one who speaks. Now let me do something. If Tertullus, the attorney, or the lawyer renting a cricketer, how do you think it was? I'm guessing he's not. I'm sure there is not real, but nonetheless, this is who has descended on the scene to visit a governor named Felix. So in verse number 10, and Tertullus began to accuse him, saying, "Sit by thee," talking to Felix, "we enjoy great, and that there is done unto thy province. We in all places most know all things, notwithstanding that I be not further tedious unto the faithless hearers of thee." So here's what's happened. Verse number is to speak. And he begins like, "We have enjoyed, there have been peace, there have been rest. They are worthy of the praise, and they are worthy of the honor." Verse number 3, "We did all voice, and in all this giving." And so here could have been customary, but maybe even more so since he wasn't to be real. It's perceived that what Paulus is trying to stop some. Okay, we're Jews, and we you Romans, and we're not the whole arrangement thing are complete what we want to make. So we'll kind of stroke your ego a little bit, and say how done, and how you've done, and how thankful for you. Now this, we don't matter. But in verse 4, or 5 rather, Tertullus says, accusations being before Felix, "For we have found this man excellent. Charges brought against him. He is a pestilent fellow." What is a fellow? It means to be a pest. It means to be annoying. It means to be noxious, right? You. Now all those things are true of those that were the case, or our life, right? They were obnoxious, they were annoying, they got under our skin, irritated us. That is what they fought against any law written in the book. It is not some terrible offense we have, and others in times, what essentially is annoys us, and we don't like him, but us to say that we were upset among our own. We need to be a mover, a stirrer of rebellion. Follow it? That he rebelled the Jews. Now we're getting the idea of a real crime being committed in the Roman government, because they didn't want that the Jews were obedient and submissive to their. And so if in the mind of a man with problems who is to his people, the idea rebelling against their under worthy of taking that as far as accusation goes. Tertullus goes, ringleader of the sect of the Nazarenes. What does it mean? Means to be this is a who identifies the same principle what it is. So he's a leader of what exactly is that? Christ has a name that was to early days for those who follow the reign, that being Christ. And so what thing is he is the hand of who follows. There again, they've agreed with this, nothing all about it. Verse number too profane we took and would have judged to our law. Well, what does that have to do with anything? When the Jews from Asia saw Paul in the temple, they cry out that he will they drug. Oh, that is what Tertullus brings before Felix, that he is about to profane the temple. And again, Felix is not a Jew, just cared who came to the temple. Because he's a part of the. Notice, please, the accusation. He tried to defile the temple. And he is straight rebellion among all the Jews out of 4 of these. One might be to Felix, but notice him. And it says, then after the governor beckoned to him speak, come back to this, I wonder 14. Verse number 14 is, but this unto thee, this speaking, he that after the way which God, being all things in the law and in the prophets. Paul is saying, concerning this, that I'm a sect of the Pharisees, that I these people who I tried to the would one day come. He said, as far as that nation is concerned, I confess I Jesus Christ, Paul says. First says, not only do I can identify Jesus and the suffering, I want you to know that I also have hope toward God, which they themselves, Pharisees, also that there shall the dead, both of the unjust. So concerning accusation, no. As it relates to this accusation with Christ, yes, sir, I do. Guilty as charged. Right. That I have this hope toward God that there will be a resurrection day. He believes, as the Pharisees say they believe. Verse number 6. And I have my to have a good conscience toward God and toward men. Now I desire to bring on to my nation and also now he's talking to be back at Jerusalem at Pentecost, purpose of alms and the honor, because he had in years. But Paul has beckoned unto him, speak, answered. For as I then of this do more cheerfully answer myself. So that thou understand, there are up to Jerusalem for to worship. Paul in verse 7, in here 12 days isn't a long time. Well, you've been gone for years. You've been gone for a long 12 days and back into a Jerusalem would have assembled for Pentecost. He lives up out there for 12 days, and he says in verse number 12, they never found this with any man of the people in the city. He is saying, listen, this whole life that I am this that I rebellion and all this stuff, he says they have proved it. He said, can they prove the things whereof they now accuse me? They have brought against. Can't prove it. They have facts. They brought against. So look back at verse 17. Now after he came to bring on a offering, whereof Jews shall be purified, but he multitude nor with tumult ought to have before thee and have ought against me. You know what Paul's saying? He is saying when they found the temple, I wasn't stirring up, I wasn't causing. And if they have something against me, they in here doing the testing, and not these guys. Verse number 20, or at these same here, if they have full doing, while I stood, except it be for this one that I cried, stand and saw this day. 22, it says, which heard thee, and the story used, and what happened. Oh, they put under, how did one, maybe not once was, here is all this said. All right, here's to really focus on. Verse number 3, Paul says this, and they accuse me. They accuse me. Absolutely, what they did, they cannot prove that. This whole idea, I have defiled the temple, and it's fine. Verse 16. Here I excel. To have a good conscience and toward as we've gone, as we the Apostle Paul wrote to upon. He could. To not intently in people. Easily he could. To necessarily. Paul was very careful in how he handled it. And his testimony, who he was, what he was known, very important to him. Paul said, you can't be. Can't prove it, because it's not true. Was it not true? Because lives and has lived these years and that have ministered among far and wide. Here's what I've remembered. My name, my who I am is at stake. Not one name. The offense to the man. So long Paul was careful, his name was important to him. Careful I handle this because my name is important to me. Very careful and handle myself in Jerusalem at the day. And the testimony and them that I have, it's all very important, and I don't want any offer. We understood this morning. I'd like his name, the name, still and worthy to be protected. I believe it is. Even, and I'm not going to don't get it, but since I oath felt, it's a name that you don't use with, your oath. No. See, oath spells, they go together. Now follow this. Some people may have having a name that ain't muddled with other people, and they want to see certain things with people. Oath spells by all the other oaths that there's one family. I then do is not only myself, but it is like Andrew is enough spell, and the son have these small numbers. Be very careful who I am. Why? That is a reflection of the inner. The fact is how others will handle it. But there's that I didn't know. That's the name Christian. I'm Christian means I identify with my Father. You're a Christian. You, Jesus Christ, identify with. Now understand, please, they have as a sweet part of utmost I can sell of the family identify with and my Heavenly Father. Are we following? Okay, what is identify with Jesus and I with all believers? And that is rejection. Grace of Jesus Christ. Are you following? Yeah, I know they're talking, telling you what, that language. When they have to work alone and they start improving you is their house. Before, not to accusations against me, like it's language, it's all this other things. They'll say, man, there's people underhandle that they'll see that people don't against God. Just telling you, I mean, the first place they were at. Did you see what they were doing the other night? I mean, God was they were just admiring that they don't have accusations like that again. I'm saying that we're late dishonest. That means to work that doesn't mind accusations. Name or a reflection of him. For instance, not necessarily land us in jail, but totally ruin testimony out of you. Now you know what it should be able to be said of. It should be said of us that whatever lying, those words lie. You absolutely you cannot prove. And we're doing that. You were crazy. You have no basis. They cheat and the accusations they bring. Do we realize the accusation? If I protect, then that I'm sure what I do is not to man. Following this? If someone wants to be a follower of God, yes. If someone is believing in the Holy, that's what I believe. I think churches is important doing these things and having yes, I want to it could be that action, but if it to ever be that believe false accusations about what I do something. Should I be? You see, here's what happens. If I be people think heaven gets better, because at this point we're here, this person we beat that I lied to or not I did. Fair in my ear, fair in my mind. So there's thousands on him from never long, and I'll tell you, they'll believe it whether or not I person or not. You tell them, there's going to be some preachers out there. But the accusation that I'm not the kind that I better tell us the Bible rather than Great Britain, and to make people well supported in it. It's important. And this, care about him as I'll do. Be dishonest, be appealing actively. We have to reflect the needs that we serve. I'm asking you this. If I call myself a Christian, living in such a could not, no matter how they move, I know on a daily basis any offense towards or neglect because it's not. Also, if I others, now how is your name? It's all stand help them identify. Lord, I was today to stop the will, the person that we are, and are we affecting it important. Whether it's just in Jesus' name.